Hello. Yesterday, my father-in-law stopped by to drop off some vegetables from his garden. We bond over gardening. He and I have a lot of things in common. It's kind of funny that we can be on separate sides of the aisle, but we still get along really well. We're not that much different. But the conversation about the cost of food and the cost of living and me waiting to hear about this job that I thought I got, all kinds of things came up. Mostly it was about food, and then it kind of went off onto a tangent to this parasitic infection in lettuce that's going on, the cyclospora. And he said within 1 or 2 sentences, like in under a minute, he stated that the immigrants were the reason for the food prices to soar, and then he blamed immigrants for the cyclospora. I hear this all the time. They always bring up immigrants and LGBTQ community people. And it doesn't even matter what the conversation is about. They got to slide it in there somewhere. So they're very angry with these two groups of people because they've been told to be angry. There has been an increasing amount of division and misplaced hatred, and it's being perpetuated by our leadership. We shouldn't be divided. For example, my father-in-law and I, we very much respect each other. We have a really great relationship. I would hate to see that disintegrate because of something this administration is doing. If you've ever worked in corporate, and I have, something that you always hear is the bottom line and keeping the shareholders happy. And some of the ways that they keep the shareholders happy is cutting corners, taking the rights away from their employees, forcing people to work twice as hard for less pay gaps, particularly between men and women. I know because I was making $19 an hour and my male counterparts with less experience were making $27. And every quarter, they have to figure out how to make just a little bit more money. And then they always tell the employees, us, they're doing it for us because technically we're the shareholders, because we have a retirement to look forward to someday that's going to be dependent upon how successful our company is. That is until Christmas time rolls around and then they have to lay off everybody, right? Where's that retirement then? But it's always like that. They always blow smoke up your ass, telling you that you need to make this money for them if you want to be okay, which is what I'm seeing at a larger scale right now. We have the most powerful corporations, perhaps in the world, that are in charge, and they care about one thing, and that's their shares. They're not going to care about anybody else, and that's not enough for them. They need some more, and they need you to do it for them. They need you to work for them. They need you to make more money for them. They need you to give a little more, and the MAGA movement are okay with that. They're like, yes, we'll just give a little bit more. We'll give 110%. We'll give 200%. Just a little bit longer. Well, I've heard that song and dance before, and it's going to get you nowhere. They don't care about you. They don't care about you at all. But one of the ways that they need to keep everybody in check is to keep them hating something else. They need to drive that attention away from them. They don't want the attention, just like they didn't want it with the Epstein files. They got to create some chaos over here so you're not looking at the dancing bear over there. So here's my list of some things that they're doing to make enemies. They're creating enemies, they're creating boogeymen, they're creating these false narratives and getting everybody all riled up so that people will fight. They are depending on people fighting and hating each other. If you keep people angry and you keep them distracted and you keep them divided, you can keep control of them. That's how this works. If you ever do end up in a crucial conversation with a family member who is completely opposite from you, don't ever point the fingers at them. Kind of like I'm pointing the finger at you right now. Don't point fingers at each other. We had a really marvelous conversation. We must have stood there for an hour, and I shared with him things that he didn't know what was going on, things that he didn't know about. And I started to see his wheels turn, and none of what I said was pointing the fingers at him. So there's no need to be catty, although I know I can be catty in my videos sometimes. But if it's someone that you really truly love and you want that relationship to work and you want to remain in contact with those people who've been in your life, try to just take a step back, and when you're ready, just calmly have those conversations without being accusatory. It is possible. It's not going to happen overnight, but these people are going to wake up. There's going to be a great awakening, and they're going to realize that they've been following the devil so far, and the devil does not love them and is going to hurt them. So I know that sounded religious. It was just kind of a metaphor, as far as I know. Okay, so here's some of the things that I've seen. Immigrants cause food prices to soar, is what I've heard. But what they don't want to talk about is how their rich friends are creating monopolies and price fixing. They don't want to talk about tariffs, the war. They're not talking about the cost of production that they cause that makes these food prices soar. That has nothing to do with immigrants. I'm hearing people say that immigrants cause cyclospora. So there's a lot of degrading rhetoric that immigrants are out in the fields pissing on the lettuce or whatever. First of all, going to the bathroom outside is a natural thing that happens. If it is happening, then I would be asking why the very wealthy white farmers who scooped up all those individuals to work for them for $4 an hour or whatever they're getting paid is not providing breaks in bathrooms. That would not be the immigrants' fault. Second of all, I don't think that they're just peeing out parasites all over your lettuce. Use a little common sense, or at least try. A lot of those farms are downwind from pig and cattle ranches, and irrigation water from one place does get into the water of other places. Let's not make assumptions about what's going on in the fields until we actually know something. Also, it doesn't help that this administration completely dismantled the CDC and reduced federal staff, so we don't have as many people to get a good handle on what's going on right now. And yeah, just like I was saying with corporate, they like to reduce the staff and then make everybody else work twice as hard. Your quality of work goes down when that happens. I actually had a video on this where J.D. Vance accused immigrants of causing housing prices to soar. J.D. Vance, doesn't he own like a real estate company or some agriculture company? He's a real estate guy, isn't he? I feel like a lot of those folks up there, isn't Trump a real estate guy? Like, aren't all those people real estate people? You know, Berkshire Hathaway is a real estate company and they're monopolizing housing markets. So maybe we start looking at the rich people who own all the land and what they're doing to fix prices. That's not an immigration problem. Housing shortage or no, an average house should not be $250,000. And the fact that Trump is saying he doesn't want the housing prices to go down because he wants the value of the houses to stay up should tell you a lot about what they're doing. Immigrants cause crime. Anytime someone from another country does something, that's their red herring, right? And then they will use that to say, well, why do you want people to die? That's a red herring fallacy. So it's really cheap. It's a cheap tactic by cheap people. But here's the thing. Let me ask you this. I have two questions, actually. One, the argument is immigrants cause crime, we should get rid of them. Then why doesn't that same argument apply to guns? Guns are involved in crime. Why are we not getting rid of that? We can keep guns, but people are expendable. Is that what I'm hearing? Because here's the thing. They don't talk about pardoning their very extravagantly rich criminal drug lord friends. Look at the list of pardons. There's a lot of bad people on there who have intentionally trafficked narcotics into the United States. They let them go. There are people who had online forums where you could buy drugs. They let them go. There are J6ers who raped little kids. They let them go. More than one J6er was involved in sexual abuse of a child. And I'm talking very young. As a matter of fact, one of them offered a $10 million payout to keep one of the 9-year-olds silent. So don't tell me that horseshit about crime. If we want to talk about crime, let's talk about why are you letting all these people go so they can go back out onto the streets and reoffend, which many of them have. Is it because they're well connected? And then why are you giving them government positions on top of it? Are you rewarding crime now? Is that how we do this? You do a crime so you get a well-paying job that the taxpayers pay you for. You attack police officers so you get a job working for the government. That doesn't make sense. And protecting a well-connected pedophile. So how come everyone in that Epstein circle gets to stay safe? Is it because they have money? Now we're talking about protecting our rich friends. Immigrants outnumbering us. Okay, so they don't talk about how deeply they embrace the Great Replacement theory at their national conservatism conferences. They always have someone like Eric Schmidt getting up there talking about the Great Replacement theory. Tulsi Gabbard attends it a lot. She's been a speaker, but there's a lot of influential people who go to that thing. And that's one of the main things that they talk about. They want to make sure that a certain group of people are not being replaced by lesser people. And they believe that this country belongs to only certain people. So take that for what it is and look that up. That's a very rich elitist way of thinking too. That's pretty dark. And then immigrants are taking jobs. But these rich people who are in power right now don't take responsibility for forcing laborers to work like two people for the price of less than one, or how they cut corners and job offers to increase their profit margins. And did you know that Project 2025 has different sections where they are absolutely adamant about erasing labor unions? They want to take away the advocacy of workers for any labor rights. They want to get rid of that. They're going to phase all that stuff out. They're going to do union bust. They're going to start out union busting, and then they're going to get rid of that. So people can't complain when, they're working at a warehouse that's 110 degrees in the shade and they don't allow bathroom breaks. You won't be able to defend yourself then. Women are the enemy too. Apparently, we're the bad guy. We're the bad girl. Just because women don't want to have a bunch of babies. But they're not addressing the fact that they've dismantled the very programs designed to help us in the first place with kids, or at the very least making our economy reasonably manageable so that we can get through. And there's so many different ways to do that. You don't have to destroy the entire planet just to do it. I mean, you could tax the rich. You could quit giving bailouts to other countries so that we can use that money here. You could quit letting those 501c3 companies use all of their money for political donations and dark money instead of supporting the poor like they're supposed to, or like they say that they do. There's a reason why those numbers are so secretive, but I digress. Yeah, there's plenty of good reasons, though, why women do not want to have babies. We're not baby machines. That's not our job. We're not breeding stock. But if you want people to feel more comfortable about raising kids, make it possible for us to do that in a safe environment that actually will have an environment in 20 years instead of a horizon of smokestacks and drills and drinkable water and breakfast at school so the kids don't have to learn hungry. Things like that would be a good start. Apparently women are also the enemy for not wanting to get married or stay home. That's a threat for some reason. They're not talking about the abusive nature of male dominance in the household. There are millions of women who are trapped in an unsafe marriage because they aren't allowed to leave. It's as though they're chattel. These guys in power right now, they just want their rich white male friends to have all the power and keep all the women under their thumb. So they can feel better about themselves? Or are they that afraid to pay equal wages in the workplace? Or give maternity leave? Or what is it that's so bad about having women in the workplace? Why do we have to stay home and serve you? That's not our job. Serve yourself. Education is apparently the enemy too. I keep hearing this, especially from people like Carrie Lake, Colleges, public schools, most books are supposedly indoctrinating people with woke ideology. It's like Trump said, he likes the poorly educated. Well, yes, he does. The less you know, the easier it is to tell you what the facts are or to give you the narrative so you don't think for yourself. That's the whole point. They don't want you to think for yourself. Then they say that slavery exhibits are indoctrinating people too. So then they also want to cover up all of that evil. History is important. You use that to learn from. You're supposed to learn from it. And we haven't learned from it yet. We don't need less history. We need more history. There's a lot of important knowledge in history, and it does repeat itself. Colleges are racially profiling white men. That's another one that I'm hearing. So now colleges are an enemy because they are racially profiling. But yet powerful groups are using every opportunity to shut down Black Lives Matter. They've publicly berated figures like Martin Luther King Jr. They're using shameful rhetoric to attack victims like George Floyd. And then they squash any attempt for the society to have any meaningful conversations through CRT. The white victimhood is the only thing they can get behind because they are at the very core racist. There's no other way to say it. If they weren't racist, they wouldn't act like this. Maybe they really don't see it. Maybe they should have taken some CRT because they are racist. If they really just want all the white rich power they can muster. Another thing that's supposedly the enemy is climate change concerns, or anyone who's concerned about climate change. With that one, what they don't talk about is how big energy companies like ExxonMobil pushed climate change denial campaigns. That was on purpose. If we work together towards clean energy, it's going to dismantle their greedy drill baby drill agenda. They want dependency on fossil fuels because right now that's where their market is. Just like anytime we go to war with someone who has a lot of natural resources, that's where the market is. They can sugarcoat it all they want. It's about money. All about money. Every time Trump says this is the hottest nation in the world, he's not joking. It is 120 degrees right now. I'm not like in the middle of the desert. It's 120 degrees heat index. Are you okay with that? Are you okay with everything being on fire? And of course, this LGBTQ plus rhetoric, that community is being picked on. It's already been picked on, and now they're putting them in more danger. The only reason they're doing this is they just need everyone riled up and full of hatred. And they're using the Bible, sections in the Bible to do it too. They need some different points of hatred. LGBTQ is just another group that's convenient for them to pick on, and Christians already kind of don't like them, so it was a very easy target for them to just use that to rile people up more and make people hate. Nearly every argument with a MAGA supporter either starts with, contains, or ends with some level of anti-LGBTQ nonsense. 9 times out of 10, it has nothing to do with what the argument is at hand. They'll just slide it in the conversation. Their go-to, if you will, is whatever the argument is. They always just gotta like jump to that when they just feel trapped or they don't have anything good to say. They know they don't have an argument. They gotta use something. And then, of course, anyone who isn't MAGA, they've got, or if you're Republican but you're criticizing Trump, you're a rhino. Or if you're a protester, you work for Antifa, which doesn't exist because that's bullshit. Or you're a libtard, or you're a Democrat. All of this is just a way to keep people divided, keeping everyone distracted so they're not paying attention to what they're doing. Dividing the country, destroying the country, enriching themselves, and doing crime. Even the polls are the enemy. So only if they're not winning, right? Only if they're not winning, it's suddenly there's a fraud, it's a scheme, it's a scam, it's always something. Homeless people are the enemy to them. People who say happy holidays are the enemy. Hell, I don't know, anyone who wears a mask if they're sick is the enemy. People who get the COVID vaccine are the enemy. Anyone who applies for Social Security is the enemy. Hell, I've seen Trump pick on famous people at random. They're the enemy. He went after Beyonce and Oprah and Taylor Swift and Bruce Springsteen. He even went after Tom Hanks. Like, what the hell did Tom Hanks ever do to anybody? Even candy isn't safe. Green M&Ms are the enemy. Restaurants aren't safe. Cracker Barrel is the enemy for changing its logo. Bud Light's the enemy for hosting a transgender person on their commercial. Tinky Winky from that kids show is apparently the enemy from Teletubbies because he carried a purse. It's like one great big QAnon clusterfuck out there. And then, finally, the deep state is the enemy, which is something that they created. Not like I don't believe that there are people in the background running this country. I firmly do believe that's happening. It's been like that forever. So they made everyone mad at some invisible boogeyman they couldn't put a finger on, and then let everybody use their imaginations to decide what that deep state enemy is made of. But then they put the very people who destroyed this country with greed and wealth inequality in charge. They're doing all of these deep state things that all of the MAGA base was complaining that they didn't like, and then the MAGA base is now cheerleading for it. So suddenly it's okay. These are the kind of things that I need to take a breath about, and I'm trying to think of how to wrap it all up into 30 seconds. What is it about the divisive nature of this that our congressmen and our senators are in such great support of, unless they want to be divisive too? Like, why are they trying to keep us all divided and fighting and miserable and creating more hatred in the streets? That kind of feels like they're the ones who are terrorizing us.